Welcome again all viewers. We are here to discuss about the paper operating system and the topic is scheduling algorithm. If you remember in the previous classes we have already discussed about the various scheduling algorithm if you remember. First come first serve scheduling, shortest job first scheduling, shortest remaining time next scheduling already we have discussed. Now in this lesson we will understand this round robin scheduling. So after reading this lesson, you will be able to understand the concept of round robin scheduling. What is this RR scheduling? Because round robin scheduling is also known as RR scheduling. How it works and what are the advantages and disadvantages of this, round robin scheduling. So let's move on. What is the round robin scheduling? But before moving, ahead, if you remember, we discussed about the multi-user time sharing system and multitasking system. They are the different type of operating systems. Now, so in these multi-user time sharing system and multitasking systems, the requirement of scheduling is different. Because in these systems, response time is the most important objective. If you remember, I also told you about the, some applications are there which requires the real-time solutions and real-time, response, like railway reservation system. If I am searching for something train to go, say for example, Jaipur to Mumbai, and I make reservation in the, Jaipur Bandra, Mumbai Bandra Express. So, or say for example, particular dates. So if I'm making the reservation, so at that time, at that moment, I want to know about the vacancy of the seats. Is the availability of the seat is there or not? So I can't wait for the 2 days or 3 days. After 3 days, I knew that okay, that seat is available or not. So these type of applications like requires the immediate response. So in some applications response time is very play a very important role. So it is quite obvious that FCFS cannot be used for these systems because it doesn't care about the response of the processes. And they are processed according to their arrivals, as you know. And it may be possible that a process arriving late may not get response for a long time. So if process arriving earlier are of long processing time, say for example, so it doesn't get opportunity to process it for a longer time if first process has a longer processing time. And shortest processes next or shortest remaining time next algo can be beneficial sometimes, but not always it can helpful, because they also suffer from starvation problem. So long processes may need to wait for a long period of time, again resulting in no response from the processes. Thus they may need to wait for a long period, again resulting in no response from the process, like that. It's going on. So thus it means that FCFS algo or SJF algo cannot be applied for the systems where quick response time is highly desirable. We can't apply these two algos. So this concept of multi-user and multitasking system is to share the processor time among the processes. Therefore, we can design the algo like that each arriving process gets the same amount of time for execution. If each process gets the same processor time, the response will be equally good for all the processes. Now, neither you can say short or not you can say a long process will suffer from a starvation problem. But how this can be designed, how the ready queue design in this situation. So the ready queue can be of same pattern like FCFS situation, or like the FIFO queue, which we discussed in the previous class. So the only issue is that when one process is executing and and its fixed allocated time is finishes, it must be temporarily stopped for some time, and the processor must be given to the next process in the queue. So in this way, every process gets equal time for execution, and no process can hold the processor for a longer time. But it may be also a possibility that what will happen if a process which has been stopped because its time period has expired, but its execution has not been completed. So in that case, there are some design parameters are there which must be resolved, because we want that proper functioning of the operating system. So in that case, the first point may be the ready queue is maintained as FIFO queue. There is one possibility. Second is that a fixed time period is allotted to a small unit of time allotted to every arriving process in the queue. And this fixed time period is known as a time quantum, or you can say time slice, which is represented by the queue. So it can be usually 10 to 100 milliseconds in between. So after this time slice elapsed, the process is preempted and then added to the end of the ready queue. So the first arriving process is selected according to the FIFO queue and dispatched to the processor then. But if it is not able to complete its execution within this time slice, say 4 milliseconds or 10 milliseconds, what are the time slices there? If that process is not able to complete in that time slice, then in that case an interrupt is generated with the help of the timer. And as soon as timer interrupt arrives, the running process is stopped temporarily. Temporarily is what? Because its execution remains. Say for example, if a process needs 10 milliseconds and time quantum is 4 milliseconds, so if it get chance once, so it can execute it only for 4 milliseconds. Now it requires 6 another milliseconds to complete its execution. Therefore, I'm saying that process is stopped temporarily, and then it is placed back in the ready queue at the end of the queue, and the context of that interrupted process is saved so that it can resume when its turn comes back in the again in future. If there are 3 processes, P1, P2, P3, P1, P2, P3, like this cycle goes on. We will see example in some time. And after that the scheduler select another process. I mean, when first process completed, select another process from the queue and dispatch it to the processor, and it is executed until the allotted time slice expires. So in this way, scheduling is done in a round robin scheduling. So in this way, that process are executed for a fixed time slice again and again, until and unless all the processes are finished their execution with their time slices. But sometimes there may be a possibility a process may finish its execution before the time. Say for example, if this process, if we can see this example, if this process time quantum is 4 millisecond and P2 and P3 process requires only 3 milliseconds, there may be a possibility. So when a process may finish its execution before the time slice expire, so what will be the case? Will the timer complete its full time slice and then send the interrupt signal? Is that the case? No, that's not the case. It doesn't happen like this. There is time wastage in this design if a timer complete its time slice even when a process has finished earlier than the time slice. So therefore in this design, this algo is designed in such a manner that whatever a process finishes before the time slice expire, whenever a process finishes before the time slice expire, the timer will stop immediately and send the interrupt signal so that the next process can be scheduled. So it doesn't wait for to expire the time slice if the processing is completed of the process. So this RR scheduling is simple, and the overhead in decision making is very low. So in case like time sharing and this type of system, this is the best scheduling for achieving the good and relatively and evenly distributed terminal response time. So we can see here, this is the example of round robin scheduling. If there are 3 processes are there and they are arrived in sequence of P1, P2, P3, as I told you, like they are arrived in the FIFO manner of this P1, P2, P3. So P1 arrives first, then P2, and then P3. This is the case of this this is the case of this round robin scheduling. So if we make this Gantt chart and if we assume that, okay, that is the process which arrives, at that time. So what is the case? Process P1 is arrived at time T0, and process P2 arrived next, and process P3 arrived after that. And time slice or time quantum is P4. That means each and every process gets 4 milliseconds in each time. So how can we make it? As you know, this process P1 arrives at time t0 because this is first now. So that P1 process, because it arrives at P1 and time quantum is 4 millisecond, therefore it executed for 4 millisecond at least. That means that process P0 arrived for 3 milliseconds. That process, that means P1 arrives at time t0 and executed at least for 4 milliseconds because time quantum is 4. And after 4 that P2 arrives, that P2 takes only 3 milliseconds. So 4 plus 3, this is only 7. And after that P3 again, 3 milliseconds. So 7 plus 3, it is 10. So this means that it doesn't wait for complete the 4 millisecond and after 8 millisecond P3 arrives and after 11 milliseconds that P1 again arrives. No, that is not the case. As soon as P2 and P3 completes its execution, the interrupt generated and signal transmitted to that, and again P1 arrives and it's resumes its execution after 10. So when it arrives, so it remains 24 minus 20. It already 24 minus 4. It already get 4 millisecond earlier. So now it requires only 20 milliseconds for execution, and there is no process now. There is no P4 process now. Therefore, the control goes back from P3 to P1 again, and now P1 executed again. It requires 4 time quantum is there for 4 millisecond. So this is the case. 10 plus 4 14, 14 plus 4 18, 18 plus 4 22, and then 26, and then 30. So next 20 seconds till next 20 milliseconds it get executed, and after this completion of this execution, it's again complete the process, and if there is another process arrives, it will take to this another process. So this is going on again and again for some time. So what is the waiting time, if we can say, in this round robin scheduling? There is the case of that P1 process which arrives, it has no waiting time, if you can see, because it get the control on the at time t0. For that process P2, how much it wait for P2? P2 process wait for this 4 milliseconds it wait. And how much time waiting time for P3? This P2 wait for 4 milliseconds, and this P3 wait for 3 milliseconds, that process P3. And that P1 process has no waiting time, and again after 4 milliseconds, that again restart this process. So in this way we can calculate the average waiting time for this RR scheduling as well. And in this RR scheduling, no process is allocated the CPU for more than one time quantum in a row. In a row in the sense, first P1, then P2, then P3. Then again after completion of P3, it goes back to P1. So in a row, it is not allocated more than one time quantum in a row. So if a processor CPU burst exceeds one time quantum, that process is preempted and is put back in the ready queue, and the RR therefore the RR scheduling we can say is the preemptive, because we are interrupting in between and we are running the another process. So that is the case of the this RR scheduling, in which each and every processor gets the equal time quantum, whatever the time quantum is there. So this is all about round robin scheduling. This is the time quantum and context switch time. Say for example, this is the case in which let us assume in this case that we have only one process. And if I have only one process and that process, of 10 time units are there. So in that case, if the time quantum is 12, so what will be the case? The process finishes is less than one time quantum. So with no overhead is there. And if the this another process is time quantum is 6 time units, however the process requires two quanta for execution, because processing time is 10 units. So in this way, this also we will discuss in in the next class, time quantum and context switch time. This figure we will discuss later on in the later classes. So as of now, priority scheduling also we will discuss in the next class. So this is the, these are the some reference books you can refer for further reading of this round robin scheduling and this priority scheduling. So as of now, thank you all of you for watching this video. Thank you.